I first seen this and thought straight away, holy, that is the bullet. It matches the exit wound. It also matches the shirt puffing up and the angle of the entry and exit. Picture this, a packed auditorium, thousands of people listening to a man they came to see, a man whose words have shaped a generation, children in the crowd, families standing shoulder to shoulder, a moment that was supposed to inspire until a single shot tore through the air. Charlie Kirk collapsed on stage, and within hours, the nation had a name. Tyler Robinson, the suspect, the accused killer. His face was everywhere, splashed across every network, filling every headline. But what if that image, the one of the man in handcuffs, doesn't tell the whole story? What if the shot that ended Charlie Kirk's life didn't come from where investigators said it did? Tonight, we confront the evidence no one is talking about. Medical reports pointing to a bullet that entered from behind, eyewitnesses who insist the shot sounded close, and a timeline that could change the case forever. If this is true, then an innocent man could be facing the death penalty while the real shooter walks free. And that should shake every single one of us. This case is far from over, and we are going to follow it until every question is answered. So subscribe, turn on notifications, and join us as we break this case wide open, piece by piece. September 10th, 2025, Utah Valley University. It was just after 12:20 in the afternoon when Charlie Kirk took the stage for what would become his final speech. Phones were out, live streams were running, and thousands had gathered to hear him speak about faith, freedom, and the future of America. The moment was calm, then a single shot, chaos erupted. Witnesses remember the sound echoing through the hall, parents shielding their children, people diving for cover and security rushing to the stage as Kirk collapsed. Law enforcement moved fast. Within hours, police had locked down surrounding buildings. A manhunt stretched through the night and into the next day. And after 3,310 hours, authorities announced they had their suspect, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, a resident of Washington, Utah. Investigators claim Robinson had fired the fatal shot from a rooftop using a bolt-action rifle. They say they found DNA on the trigger, surveillance footage placing him near the building, and a note hidden under his computer keyboard describing a plan to take out Charlie Kirk. Prosecutors charged Robinson with aggravated murder, obstruction of justice, and felony discharge of a firearm in the presence of children. And they've made it clear they intend to seek the death penalty if he is convicted. But even with this mountain of evidence, serious questions are now being raised about whether this narrative holds up. Because when you look closely at the forensic details, something doesn't add up. But here's where everything takes a dramatic turn. Newly surfaced medical documents, along with statements from surgical staff who treated Charlie Kirk in those final moments, reveal something investigators never made public. The bullet that struck Kirk did not pass through his body. There was no exit wound. The round was recovered lodged deep within the tissues of his neck. And according to a source familiar with the medical imaging, the path of the bullet appears to show it entered from behind, traveling forward, not from an elevated distant position. If true, that single detail could change the entire understanding of this case. A rooftop shot should have produced a downward trajectory, and with the type of rifle police say was used, almost certainly an exit wound. Instead, what we are left with is a bullet path that seems to point to a shooter much closer to the stage, perhaps even on ground level. Several ballistics experts we consulted say this is not a minor detail. They called it highly unusual for a high-powered rifle fired from a range to leave a bullet lodged in the body, especially when striking soft tissue. One expert went as far as to say that this kind of trajectory would be difficult to reconcile with the official story unless there was a major ricochet or the weapon used was not the one recovered on the rooftop. And that raises a haunting question. If the bullet's path does not match the rooftop angle, then who was actually holding the weapon that killed Charlie Kirk? The medical evidence is only one piece of the puzzle. Eyewitness accounts raise even more questions. Several people in the audience have said the same thing. The sound of the shot was unnervingly close, not distant, not muffled, but sharp. Immediate, as if it came from somewhere near the stage itself. Some described it as being so loud it made their ears ring, as though the gunman had been within the same space as the crowd. Social media videos taken from multiple angles show a chilling detail: the crowd's reaction. In almost every clip, people duck within a fraction of a second after the sound, suggesting that what they heard was right on top of them, not echoing from a far-off rooftop. In fact, a few people seated near the front reported seeing what they thought was movement behind the stage in the split second before the shot rang out. Experts who have reviewed these clips say that with proper analysis, the sound captured on those phones could be triangulated to pinpoint the origin of the gunfire with surprising accuracy. But so far, law enforcement has not released any official audio analysis, leaving this critical piece of the investigation in the dark. Until those results are made public, we are left with conflicting accounts. A police narrative that places the shooter at a distance, and witnesses who swear the sound came from almost right beside them. And that gap between the official story and what people experienced in real time only deepens the mystery. To build their case, investigators turned to the digital trail Tyler Robinson left behind, a trail they claim reveals his motive. According to court filings, detectives uncovered text messages Robinson allegedly sent to his partner after the shooting, expressing frustration with Charlie Kirk's political views. In one message, he wrote that he was, quote, done with the hate, and suggested that some voices, quote, shouldn't be allowed to speak without consequence. Under his computer keyboard, police say they found a handwritten note that read, "I have the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and I'm going to take it." On paper, this evidence appears damning, a clear motive and a clear plan. But motive does not always equal guilt. Messages can be emotional venting, private thoughts, even hyperbole. A note can be planted. Defense attorneys are already hinting at this strategy, suggesting that someone could have known about Tyler Robinson's political anger and used it to frame him, making him look like the perfect suspect. After all, a man with online posts criticizing Kirk, a private note, and angry texts would be the first person police would look at. If Robinson was framed, it means someone exploited his digital footprint, his words, his emotions to hide their own involvement. A chilling thought that would mean the real shooter is still free. Outside the courtroom, this case has become more than a trial. It has become a national conversation. The Kirk family continues to mourn, appearing in court to face the man accused of killing their husband, father, and son. For them, this is not politics. This is personal. They want justice, and they want answers that make sense. Candlelight vigils have been held across the country honoring Kirk's memory and calling for unity in a time when the nation feels deeply divided. But outside those same choruses, protesters gather, some demanding harsher penalties for politically motivated violence, others warning that rushing to judgment without airtight evidence could destroy an innocent man's life. And now, with the trajectory evidence raising doubts, prosecutors may soon face the hardest question of all. If the bullet's path shows a closer shot from behind, how could Robinson have pulled the trigger from a distant rooftop? If that contradiction stands in court, the state's entire case could be shaken. And that means not only could a man's life hang in the balance, but the real killer may still be out there. A thought that weighs heavily on every parent, every student, and every family who attends events like the one that turned deadly that night. As the courtroom prepares for the next phase of this trial, one haunting possibility hangs in the air. If the shot came from behind, if the sound was as close as witnesses insist, then we may be staring at a case of mistaken identity, or something far more complex than anyone imagined. What really happened on that stage? Who truly pulled the trigger that ended Charlie Kirk's life? And if the wrong man is sitting behind bars right now, how long will it take before the truth comes out? This story isn't over. Not for the Kirk family, not for the accused, and not for a nation still trying to make sense of the violence that unfolded that day. Stay with us as we follow every hearing, every piece of evidence, and every twist in this case until we have answers. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this video with others who care about truth and justice. Because the closer we look, the more questions we uncover.